Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Junix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Excellent. Good morning, Ayo. How are you? Perfect. Are you good?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, Rufai. How is it this morning?
Morning, Oji.
Perfect.
Are you
I
good?
love this. Yes. I'm trying to be good.
Pele.
Well, all right. Yes, I'm trying. So, yeah,
I
broke my ankle, basically, a torn ligament. And so it's been really tough. But I'll be all right. Well, all right. Thank you. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In Russia, President Vladimir Putin blasted organizers of the Wagner Group on Monday, the gravest threat yet to his power, as traitors who played into the hands of Ukraine's government and its allies. Speaking during a live 5-minute broadcast close to midnight, Putin sought to project stability and tried to strike a balance between criticizing the uprising's perpetrators to prevent another crisis. In Nigeria, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, assumed office on Monday following his appointment by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu last week. The country's former national advisor, Babagana Mongono, handed over the mantle at a ceremony in Abuja. Ribadu, a former chair of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, during the ceremony said that the time to restore peace, law and order in the country has come. Under sports, Super Eagles and Napoli striker Victor Osimhen won the Best African International Award at the 5th edition of the Ghana Football Awards on Sunday. The 24-year-old saw off competition from Egypt and Liverpool star Mohamed Salah and Manchester City star Riyad Mahrez. Osimhen helped Napoli win the 2022-2023 Serie A title, their first since the 1989-1990 season. He scored 26 goals in the Italian top flight to become the first ever African to win Serie A's Golden Boot. Under entertainment, ousted CNN anchor Don Lemon has opened up about why he was fired from the network in his first sit-down interview since his dramatic departure. The 57-year-old news anchor told ABC 24 Memphis that he was fired for refusing to put liars and bigots on his news programs, insisting that people should stand up for what is right to fulfill the promise of the United States Constitution.
I don't believe in platforming liars and bigots and, insurrectionists and election deniers and putting them on the same footing as people who are telling the truth, people who are fighting for what's right, people who are abiding by the Constitution. I think that would be a dereliction of journalistic duties to do those sorts of things. That is what has gotten me to this point, and that is what is going to carry me forward.
Finally, the sun set on one of the greatest careers in British music history as Sir Elton John played the last UK show of his farewell tour at Glastonbury. The 76-year-old legend treated fans to a masterclass in song and stagecraft, delivering a 2-hour set in which every song was a greatest hit. He was watched by a vast crowd, estimated to be over 120,000 people, while a record 7.3 million people tuned in to watch live on BBC.
I don't understand.
Amazing. Let's begin what's trending with reactions trailing comments made by a former governor of Bauchi State, Isa Yuguda, who during a live television interview stated that fuel subsidy has mostly been a scam run by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company in conjunction with marketers and other stakeholders in the oil sector. Yuguda, who was also a former Minister of State for Transport, further stated that he was privileged to serve as the chairman of a subcommittee between 2008 and 2009 during the economic meltdown period, and he chaired the Committee on Subsidy, where everything about the scam was discovered. Well, Bayo Ononuga, the director of media for the Tinubu Shetima campaign, posted a snippet of the interview on Twitter, stating that anyone shouting for the retention of subsidy is connected with the scammers. Well, let's take a look.
I was privileged to serve as the chairman of the subcommittee
2008 and 2009 under the economic meltdown. I was one of the members. 3 of us governors and some other members with Mr. President as chairman. So I chaired the committee on subsidy and everything about the subsidy regime, and then the scam in the subsidy regime was discovered by my committee. And of course, since then, recommendations were made, which unfortunately were never implemented, and it's very sad. I'm sad to let Nigerians know that from what I saw, we came across situations where subsidy was claimed on pipelines that never existed. You just claim that they have pumped X amount of, either finished products or crude, maybe from Kaduna, from Warri to Kaduna.
By NNPC? Making this claim?
Of course, who else is doing it?
Oh dear.
Those that pump and those that are in the subsidy scam, they just fill papers, invoices, and they claim subsidy on it. In fact, there was an instance of a pipeline that was supposed to exist between Lagos and Warri. And tons of monies were collected on subsidy on a pipeline that never existed. This is Nigeria for you.
Well, all right. I mean, I got that snippet from Bayo Ononuga, who is also very vocal on Twitter. I mean, can I call him a Twitter analyst like Dr. Batis always condemning Twitter analyst? I mean, what can I say? But yes, it was good that he posted that. And, I thought it was... No. I mean, people post their opinions on Twitter, and it is important for us to share. And I think that what he said is actually right. If this is actually true, what Bayo Ononuga said is if, people that are screaming about the subsidy retention are part of the scheme. But I believe that this is a huge story that should be investigated. What caught my attention, I mean, he made those comments on Channels Television. What caught my attention was the fact that he said that there was an oil marketer that is his friend, who is part of the team, who's also a part of the economic team, that met a previous president and told him that, listen, we are tired of making money. This whole thing is a huge scam. I mean, what is this? This is all a cahoot or something? But before I come to you, Ayo, in the meantime, Garba Shehu, a former spokesperson for ex-president Muhammadu Buhari, in a Twitter post on Monday, stated that Buhari did not remove petrol subsidy before he left office to prevent any form of insurrection that could have made the All Progressives Congress lose the 2023 election. The former presidential spokesperson further admitted that although Buhari did not remove petrol subsidy during his 8-year tenure in office, all other subsidies which were in place before he was elected in 2015, including the annual fertilizer subsidy that cost 60 to 100 billion naira each year, the pilgrim diesel and electricity subsidies were all eliminated by May 2023. I mean, this is all self-indicting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've highlighted that, but let me go back to Mr. Issa Yuguda's statement. And it just goes to show again and again that only a few people in Nigeria are siphoning our financial resources at the detriment of the masses. The people who, he's not the first person, or he's not stating anything that's new to people in terms of the fact that subsidies is a scam. So what he's mentioned is that the NNPC, colluding with some oil marketers, just have phantom sale of oil and claim subsidy and bleed the nation whilst the poor masses are suffering. And that's why a number of times people used to say that subsidy was for the rich. It was just for the rich. There were a few people who were benefiting massively from it, and that had to be cut to stop the siphoning of resources from the government. But beyond that I'd like to also mention that this scam was done under the previous administration as well, which was an APC government.
Yes.
Why wasn't this investigation done at the time? Why did you take, and it leads to the next story with Malam Garba Shehu saying that the president, due to political reasons, rather would allow this scam to continue to benefit his party so that they wouldn't jeopardize their chances at the polls. It goes to show where really the heart of our politicians are and the will or political will comes from. Mm-hmm. As long as it's of interest, it would continue. When it no longer becomes an interest, So where do the people come into? Where do the people come into the play? At what point would we have leaders who are thinking of the people as opposed to their personal interest and political advancement? It is sad, and I hope, as has been said, it is investigated, at least hopefully under this administration, the president will have the courage to do so.
Yes, and Rufai, one of the anchors asked the question there. If you're saying that, the president knew about this whole subsidy scam, why didn't he remove it? And Yuguda alluded to the fact that the president may have been scared for his life. Rufai.
Yes, see, Oji, there's nothing Yuguda said that a lot of people do not know in this country. And that's why I said before President Tinubu removes subsidy, at first you prepare the ground through palliatives, and two, you have a forensic audit of the NNPC and what went on. Like I was a soothsayer, I know they will never do that because of the level of scam that goes on. And Oji, it is not today people have been living at the expense of Nigeria. It goes back to when Nigeria got independence, where top government functionaries were fleecing this country dry. In fact, Oji, it's a miracle this country is still alive, it's still succeeding. And God will thank you for Nigeria. Because the way people have eaten this country dry, the cankerworms and palmer worms, all sorts of corruption. And guess what they do? They make humongous wealth. They just fritter some of the wealth to their foot soldiers that you see on social media defending the madness going on. And they also fritter some to the media, people that would talk and speak for them, while they keep making money. Imagine somebody saying that, I'm tired of making money.
Yes.
And that's what it is. We all know it's a scam. The first regime was a scam. You remember the first regime when they said marketers should bring it in? Marketers were bringing empty barrels in and they were collecting money. But let me tell you something. The next phase of the scam will start soon. When you have to get a lot of people to still bring in products in themselves, and the NNPC is not bringing products in, and they fix the price. That's going to be the next phase of the scam. Because why? These people that are at the top, they never care for the lower rung in society. And there is no government to defend them. You know why? Because government becomes for the rich, and the rich are their cronies. I dare them to have a forensic audit of the NNPC.
Absolutely.
I dare them to have a forensic audit that goes way back to 77, since the NNPC started.
Yes.
They will not. Absolutely. You know why? Because we know what has gone under the carpet. But you see, in all of this, I keep telling Nigerian people, elections matter. You can see all of this yourself and be hoodwinked by the people they pay to come and lie to you on social media.
Surely.
And you can see all of this and take action. Your destiny in your hand. The best I can do is to tell you and open your eyes to it. Like you take your future in your hands,
Absolutely.
These people will continue to do you over. And guess what, Oji? They are already recruiting their children. These same children of the oppressors will rule over you if care is not taken.
I mean, surely this needs to be investigated. Even his friend, Yugunda's friend. I mean, they need to find out who. All these people need to be arrested.
Oji, nothing will be done after this interview.
What has been confirmed? What has been confirmed by, former Governor Isa Yuguda's statement is that, look, we live in a country, whether it's fuel subsidy or other forms of subsidy, where we're surrounded by scam. What has been confirmed is the fact that there is a class, a parasitic class in this society, a rent collection class. People who do nothing, who just collect rent from the Nigerian state.
Unacceptable.
Whether it's in the oil and gas sector, or it's in the maritime sector, or in any other sector in Nigeria. Rent collectors. And that is why his friend that he talked about can say, look, we are making too much money because they don't do anything.
Yes.
And I do parasitic class. Isa Yuguda, as he pointed out, was chair of a committee to investigate the subsidy scam in 2009. In 2009. In 2011, the House of Representatives set up a committee to investigate this fuel subsidy scam and came up with the same conclusion as the Isa Yuguda panel of 2009. In 2012, the Jonathan administration set up the Aigimokwede panel on subsidy verification. And that panel indicted 21 companies and raised an alarm that people were collecting per annum. Money is running into about 327 billion naira. People who have no fuel station, claiming that they have fuel station. People who do not import any fuel, claiming that they are importing fuel. The good news is that under the present administration, the Tinubu administration, the fuel subsidy has been removed. So nobody is going to collect any free money again from that direction. 2, the petroleum equalization fund is also going to disappear. So that's another center of scam in all of this. But a bigger point made by former Minister of Aviation, former Governor Issa Yuguda, is that there's no time limit on investigation of the persons who have been identified and indicted. But I hope that President Tinubu will summon the courage to initiate further investigation and trial, because if all the people who collected rent from Nigeria, from phantom fuel subsidy, if they are made to return the money, that could be a lot. That money could be used to develop some of our institutions, particularly schools. Because the whole idea of people collecting rent, there are people who are collecting rent at the ports.
Unacceptable.
There are people who have private accounts into which they put government money.
Yes.
So, this is part of the challenge as President Tinubu tries to tackle corruption, which is one of the things he has been advised to do. So, Issa Yuguda's recommendation is in order, clearly, because we have too many rent collectors in this country. You wake up very early, we wake up every morning to put in a day's work. Some people just lounge around, they just collect rent for doing absolutely nothing.
There must be an investigation now. Well, let's take another story. Nigerians and human rights groups have asked or have reacted to the brutal murder of a butcher identified as Usman Buda over alleged blasphemous comments against the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The butcher allegedly made the comments during an argument with another trader and was beaten to a pulp around 8 a.m. on Sunday. He died from injuries after he was rushed to a nearby hospital. His neighbor, Malam Yusuf, described his death as painful and said he suspected some foul play because the butcher, who is from the Izala sect, was a very religious man who prayed often and so was incapable of making blasphemous remarks against the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The governor of the state, Dr. Ahmed Aliyu, has called on the people of Sokoto to remain calm and law-abiding at all times. He further cautioned residents against any act capable of degrading the personality of Prophet Muhammad because, in his words, the present administration will not take the issue of blasphemy lightly and will deal decisively with anyone found guilty of any act aimed at degrading the personality of Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, in line with the provision of Islamic laws. I mean, Rufai, I believe that it was really the governor's comment regarding this issue that got a lot of people talking. I mean, we haven't dealt with the case of Deborah, the 22-year-old girl who was brutally murdered in the same state. And instead of calling for, more investigation and people not to react in this manner, which is against the Islamic religion. I mean, I don't know anywhere in the Quran where it says you should kill people because they blaspheme the Holy Prophet Muhammad.
Oji, I don't like to talk too much about religions, but they're very sensitive. But let me quote the law. Section 38 says you have freedom of thought, religion. I saw a redacted statement as regards the conversation that ensued. The man did not denigrate.
That's what I'm hearing.
The man was just trying to make an explanation. But somebody took it overboard and they went ahead. Oji, when Deborah's case happened, you remember what I said? It will happen again because culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Because people were not nipped in the bud, nobody was brought to account. Even the mob was emboldened to go and start burning churches. Look at this. This has led to the death of this man. You can see children watching how other people are stoned.
They participated, even children.
And they participate.
Yes.
So what society are we building? And then the governor, instead of him to address the substantive issue, he's saying more about the religious issue because he wants to go the route of religious sentiment. There are many things that we need to fear God for. The life of this man does not matter. How can I lean on the path of religious sentiment because I want to look good in the face of people? You see, as a leader, the day you cannot stand up right against the mob that follows you and tell them they are wrong when they are wrong, you seize the capacity to be a leader. And I think those in authority must investigate this case. There's ample video here.
Absolutely.
Face recognition software should be put into the video. People should be apprehended. And the law must take its course. You don't kill people this way.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right, so when you say face recognition, in Deborah Samuel Yakubu's case, the person, one of the perpetrators, put a video to his face and was easily recognizable. 1 year afterward, 12th of May this year.
No, they let them go now.
Yeah, he hasn't been apprehended. He's
No,
still
they apprehended them.
No, I mean the guy whose face was out.
Okay,
yes, that particular guy. Yes, they had some suspects, but the guy whose face, he's still at large. Now, when you have instances like that, it does not in any way inspire confidence in the fact that the state would protect you if you ever fall victim to this. Now, the challenge with jungle justice is that, as you've mentioned, when you listen to the conversation, you can make your judgment to say that, oh, but this doesn't sound, but unfortunately, he doesn't have a right to defend himself because he's dead. And if beyond, the Islamic position, Islam is said to be a religion of peace. Is the governor making a statement about jungle justice? Absolutely. You can't kill people without fair trial. Mm-hmm. That is one of the biggest takes out of this. The man is not here to defend himself. Deborah is not here to defend himself, and nothing has been done.
Unfortunate situation. Dr. Abati, this is a big story. We just have about a minute on this before we move.
Well, it's very unfortunate because about this time last year, that was when the Deborah Samuel case occurred. And now a year later, you have, the same incident occurring in the same Sokoto state.
Same state.
And then another life has been lost. What the story says is that, look, there was a debate among butchers whether or not it is correct to ask somebody to take a particular course of action in the name of the prophet, peace be upon him. And this was a debate that had been brought about by the travails of Ex-Bauchi, who previously, was also. So they were having a discussion about what the proper interpretation in that regard. And at the end of the day, this man was killed because he supported Ex-Bauchi. The culture of intolerance that we have in this country is unbelievable.
Yes.
Now, the governor has gone ahead to say, well, this is a Muslim-dominated state. People should avoid the blasphemy. But he also made the point that people should not take the law into their hands.
Unacceptable.
His statement may have been controversial because he tended to weigh more on one side than the other. But the police, their role in this matter, the police could have saved the day because I saw the police report. The police said they got an alert, they rushed to the place. They heard that a human being was being attacked. They went there barehanded.
Unbelievable.
They didn't go with any gun. They had nothing with which to scare the people away. And then they said they got there. The man was unconscious. Then they rushed him to the hospital. But of course, the attack continued because they were not prepared for the chaos.
Right.
So I don't think that the police can be commended in this case. This is one case in which, although they responded early, they could have saved the situation if they went there prepared to save a soul.
The governor should have called for an investigation, and we have the video out there. They should all be brought to book. Let's take our final story. Ahmed Usman Obodo, the gubernatorial candidate representing the All Progressives Congress in Kogi State, in a video that has now gone viral, described himself as a responsible married woman during a Women's Network campaign to support his candidacy in the November 2023 election, eliciting several reactions, with many raising concerns about his gender identity. Let's take a look.
We want to assure you that I am a Usman Obodo. I am a married woman. I am responsible. I respect my mother. I respect my wife.
Dr. Abati, over to you. I mean, yes, it was a slip of tongue, but I mean, we have to all be careful. I needed to cheer people up right now on this point.
He says he's a responsible married woman.
Yes.
Well, you know these days, there's a big controversy
Which is the big
about
problem.
how people identify,
Yes.
you know, gender identity. But in any case, he wants to be governor of Kogi State. Well, the Constitution of Nigeria does not list being a responsible married man as one of the conditions for qualification for office.
But they have to be responsible, Dr.
Well,
Abati.
he has to be responsible, but whether you are married or not, they don't. INEC will not ask for marriage certificates.
Absolutely, he's certainly not a woman. It was definitely a slip of tongue. The huge conversation on transgender and gender identity needs to continue on the space. Well, thank you all for your great analysis as always on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.